In this video, we are going to discuss the most aggressive reply for black against the bird's opening. Bird's opening, as we know, is a very original opening where white goes f4. And black, if he wants to be ultra aggressive, can play the Frum's Gambit by playing pawn e5. This is a very interesting pawn sacrifice because after white takes, black's best move would be pawn d6, just allowing white to be a pawn up, but at the cost of development. Now you can see white's king side is a little bit broken, unsafe, and black has already developed a piece. Instead of white being a piece up in development, black is ahead in development by a piece. Even the queen can come out fast. Now I'll show you how dangerous this is for white if he is careless. For example, if you play a normal move like knight c3, planning to take the bishop out, queen out, and castle this side, then game is practically over in two moves. Can you see how game gets over? Queen h4, and after g3, just queen g3 or bishop g3. Queen g3 is better. Queen g3, pawn takes, and bishop takes. Game over. So that's how dangerous it is, the Frum's Gambit. So after f4, e5, pawn takes, d6, takes, white has to either go g3 or knight f3. Let's say he goes knight f3 to stop queen h4. Now black has different options. Black can play g5, that's a second option, g5, planning to play g4 and kick the knight out. Now white has to go g3, and then black can even go h5. So it's a very aggressive setup for black. At the cost of one pawn, you get an attack, and you have a lead in development. The other option is even more sound, knight f6. This is a very cunning move because, for example, if white plays a move like a d4, e4, or e3, d4, or knight c3, black will go knight g4. And if white is again careless and goes a move like d4, or let's say any other move like b3, any move, then black's idea is to play knight h2, threatening bishop g3 checkmate. So it's not so easy for white to play this. So here, after after pawn takes, bishop takes, white has to take extra care of his king side. He is a pawn up. White's a pawn up, so he can be comfortable, but he just have to stop all the threats on the king side through this diagonal. So knight f3, and after say knight f6, the best move for white would be to go g3. Now black can still go g5 or h5. Let's say he goes h5, bishop g2, and the game continues. You can go knight g4 anyway, and then go g5. So it basically throws caution to the winds, and black is throwing everything at the white king side. Now let's say, for example, after knight g4, if you castle, then I go g5, let's say d4, I can go even h4, completely opening up the position. So this is the kind of position we get after the Frum's Gambit. So just to show you the opening, after f4, black goes e5, giving up a pawn, and black is not even trying to get it back. Queen h4 here doesn't help because of g3. Black goes d6, bringing the bishop in the game. And then white is the one who has to be very careful, but white is a pawn up. So that makes a very interesting game. There have been thousands of games that have happened in this position, and the results are fairly balanced. Some games white has won, some games black has won. Draws are very rare because there is a big imbalance, a pawn sacrifice and a lead in development for black. So let me show you a game that happened between a 1600 player and a 2000 player. In their game, white played knight f3. Knight f3. Now black went knight f6, knight c3, knight g4, and now there is a threat of knight h2, which means white has to go g3 or make space for the king. Even if white makes space for the king, you can even still go for the sack, forcing the king out. So g3, the best move, preparing bishop g2 and castles, but black is not going to let white have a good life there. Black goes h5. Knight e4, giving extra support for g3, and to exchange off this beautiful bishop. This bishop is a threat in the position, so white wants to exchange it off. Black cannot do anything about that exchange, so black brings his pieces out, knight out. Knight takes, queen takes. Of course, queen takes. Queen has to be active. There is not much activity going on in this diagonal now because of g3, but queen can be useful in other ways. Pawn d3 to play pawn e4 to play bishop out. Bishop f4 is the main idea, and then queen d2 and castles. That's the plan. Black with bishop e6. Black is not going to castle this side. He wants to use the rook. So castle long is his plan. Bishop g2. White is preparing to castle. h4. Not letting white castle with peace of mind. White has to take. Otherwise, black would take, and then this structure would completely be obliterated. Queen takes back will happen. So pawn takes, castles. Pawn c3. Trying to play d4 and maybe d5 at some point, and then queen c2. Bishop out, castle. That's the plan. Rook e8. Bringing the rook to the center. Black realizes there is not much he can do on the h file. He does not even want to take back this pawn. This pawn will not be a problem. It's doubled and it will never be a pass pawn anytime soon. So black uses the rook in the center. White brings out his queen. Bishop f5, making a threat. Playing against the Viking in the center. Bishop d3 is a threat. Queen d3 is a threat. Knight g1, defending the pawn, defending the threat, defending the weak pawn on e2. But it allows, I thought it allows bishop d3, but there might be, yeah, it allows queen takes knight. That would be a blunder. So bishop cannot move. That is why knight e5 was played. Now bishop d3 is in the air. We can take back, but position would be completely difficult. King f1, moving out of the pin, so that now with bishop d3, he wants to just take back. Black goes bishop d3 anyway. A piece sack for 2 pawns. Actually, he was already down 2 pawns, so this is a full piece. White doesn't take, white doesn't show the guts to take it. If white takes, then I don't think it will be a decent position because now queen takes. And how do you defend? Knight e2 would not do much, would it? For example, I can go, what would be a good move here? Let's say knight, where should the knight go? No, wait a second. How about knight c4? Threatening queen e2 checkmate. And you cannot go queen d1, you cannot go queen c2. How do you defend? Bishop f3 not possible. So that means this is completely over. So let's go back. So that is why white doesn't take back the bishop. White goes bishop f4, trying to bring his rook in the game. Queen b6. And that is the knockout blow. Because it's mate. Next move is mate. White has nothing to do. White can go, I guess, knight h3 to stop the mate. Or king e1. But even with king e1, there is queen check, king moves, and probably bishop takes. Yeah, bishop takes. King c1. I can just take the piece here. This is completely crushing. King has to go, say, here. Then I can go queen d2. I am sure there are many moves to win. King b3, bishop here. Black can have a lot of fun here. Oh, wait. In this position, I can even, wait a second. I cannot take the bishop because queen's defending it. So probably here I would take this bishop if needed. Or wait, there is even rook d1. You can see there are a lot of options for black. I can go bishop e5 immediately to win the queen. This is one way of doing it. There must be a mate also. So if you check this with the engine, I'm sure it will show a mate. So let's go back. So after queen b6, what about knight h3? This is the other move to check. I guess the symbol queen b2 should do the job. And when the rook moves, there was a threat of queen e2. So when the rook moves, can we go? Yeah, maybe we can go. I'm just trying to find out without the engine's help. So, what would be a good move here? Can we do a sack? Bishop takes, rook d1, rook e1 is forced, and then this has to be mate. Takes, knight can go to. How do I give a mate? How about knight d3? After king d1, it would be made by. Wait, how will it be made? What's the material like? We are down a. Have we done that? We are down a piece. We can get back the piece immediately with queen takes, attacking the rook and the knight. This should also be winning. Oh wait, but the rook hangs. Oh, we can't do that. We can't play because our rook is hanging. So probably something like knight f2 should be good. Yeah, knight f2. Yeah, knight f2 is a finish. Knight takes, knight takes. It's mate. So let's go back. So after queen b6, white just resigned. White did not go after queen b6. White resigned this game because it was too much. Basically, material wise, white is 2 pawns up, but the king is totally open. There are 4 pieces hunting the king, even the rooks. So let's just confirm our analysis with the engine, our friend. So it's giving minus 11. So for king e1, what is the quickest finish? It's queen f2, king d1, bishop into e2, king c2, bishop d1. Yeah, bishop d1 wins the queen. That's the easiest finish. And for knight h3, what's our finish? Let's see. Knight h3, bishop into e2, king into e2, queen b2. King is forced back. Then we take here. King is again forced up, and then it's mate. Wow. So this was a very interesting game. So the games in Frum's Gambit are usually crazy, aggressive, and white needs to be really scared. So you got to be really prepared on how to, uh, both with the mindset and with your moves, on how to defend against black's initiative. So f4 e5, the Frum's Gambit, is the most aggressive reply for black against the bird's opening. So I'm sure you loved the Gambit, and you will play a lot of games and win a lot of games as black with this. White players need to prepare.